Hi everyone, this is a web app demo using Amazon ECS. This is an overview of the architecture. We have two subnets, two public, two private. The users will access it through the internet gateway. We have a application load balancer distributing the traffic. We have auto scaling group. And then we have EC2 instances for service web and service cats. And we're going to use Fargate for service dogs. Same thing in the other private AZ. Service dogs using Fargate, a NAT gateway to access the private subnets. Then we'll create an admin user for VS Code. We'll also use CodePipeline connected to GitHub, created from code build to push our code updates to our ECR registry, which you'll see we'll create a version 2 registry. But we also create task definitions for ECS. And this is an overview of the architecture. We're going to create a web app using cats and dogs. So if you love cats or you love dogs, you'll click on that through the display page of the web app. But let's go ahead and get started. And I'm working out of US East 1. First, you'll need to create an IAM user with admin access. I already have one created, but what you'll do is you'll just go to IAM, create a user, and then you want to attach administrative access. But now let's go to CloudFormation. So, and the link of this workshop will be in the description. We want to click on Create Stack. Choose an existing template. So specifying the template, we're going to upload a template. Okay, choose File. And then you want to download the template. We got to create the CloudFormation stack. So the template will be also in the description, but provide a stack name. I'm going to name it ECS Demo. And we want to give a password to access the VS Code IDE. So make sure you remember your password. No, I don't want that saved. Permissions, we're leaving that default. Roll back all stack resources, that's fine. Scroll down. Acknowledge CloudFormation. Click Next. And just review. And let's go ahead and submit. So this is going to take approximately 5 minutes to complete the stack. Just to give you a heads up. Okay, I'm refreshing so you can see it's 22 events so far, and I sped this up for you. So 69 events. If we scroll down, you can see the private subnets, association route table, public route, NAT gateway, public subnets, private route table, public route table, attach the gateway, internet gateway, the VS Code security group, elastic IP, internet gateway, VPC, DHCP options, and then the ECS demo is the name of the stack. So okay, so now that that's complete, if we go to outputs, we want to copy that VS Code server URL and just refresh that. So we're going to access VS Code through through the web. So enter the password that you created. Click File. We want to open a folder. And you can see that's the path, Home EC2 User. Click OK. Okay. And yes, you want to trust the author. We can click Parent Folder as Home. Okay, I understand. Okay, you want to open up the terminal. Terminal, new terminal. Okay, and I'm pasting that in. We're getting the, making sure the IAM role is successfully assumed. Okay, and I'm LS in the cats and dogs. So you can see the code for the demo is downloading correctly. All right, we want to install the CLI tools. That's the sudo pip install command. Okay, we want to set the region with this next command. Okay, we want to set the account ID. Now the IDE environment is set. I'm going to clear that out. Okay, so let's go back to the console. And we want to go to Elastic Container Registry. Open this in a new tab. Okay, we want to create repositories in ECR. The first repository I'm going to create using the UI. So name it cats. Immutable AES 256. Let's create that. Okay, so we're going to create additional repositories, the 2 additional dog and webs. We're going to use the CLI. So this is the workshop. I'm just going to copy the let's copy the commands and paste that into the VS terminal. So let's verify. So we have dogs created and then web. So we have our 3 repositories in ECR. So you can do it both ways, create it using the GUI and then also the CLI, but let's clear that out. We want to build web, cat, and dogs, the Docker images with the Docker CLI. Okay, so let's go underneath ECS cats and dogs, and underneath cat, you're going to see the Docker file. Let's click on that. So that's our Docker file, and in the terminal, I'm going to type in source //.bash_profile. Okay, so we can set that. And I'm gonna get an error here, but you'll see I'll create the path. You can see it, there was no such directory, so we'll correct that. Let's just move on. So docker build-t dogs /ECS -cats -dogs /dogs, which is the dog's path. Let's go ahead and run this. Let's give it some time to build. Okay. So now docker build-t web /ECS -cats -dogs /web. So the web path. Let's build that out. Okay, so now we're gonna update the correct path. Pretty much copying the previous two commands. So docker build-t cats /ECS -cats -dogs /cats. So that'll cover our previous error. So now that that's updated, let's go to the cat repository. And these are the push commands. So we want to tag and push images to the Elastic Container Registry, but that's the push command for cats. Let's go back to the terminal, clear that out. Okay, profile, and paste that in. So login succeeded, and then we want to create the cats tag and container image. Run that. Okay. Just clear that. And we want to push the dogs container image. So you notice we're doing these in threes: cats, dogs, and web that we're building out. Okay, so that's pushed. Let's clear that. Now let's do web. Okay. Let's clear that. And we want to confirm the latest image. So we're going to go back to the console. Okay, and if we click on cats, you can see the tag is latest, right? And it's pushed at the date and time, and then that's the size. So far, so good. Let's verify dogs. Yep, image tag is the latest. And let's verify web. Image tag latest. So that pushed correctly. On the search bar, let's go to EC2. I'm also opening this in a new tab. Okay, so we want to scroll down to security groups. Okay, we want to create a security group for our application load balancer. And let's give it a name. I'm going to name it ALB-SG and also put the same in the description. VPC is our demo VPC. And we want to add an inbound rule. So scroll down to HTTP. You can see that's port 80, automatically populated. And source is IPv4, anywhere, quad zeros. Outbound rule, we'll leave that default. And let's scroll down and create the SG. Now we need to create it for the ECS cluster security group. So click create security group. I'll name it ECS ASG-SG, and same for description. Okay, click the demo workshop, add inbound rule, all TCP, and that's our range. And here we want to click on the ALB security group, and the source is custom. Outbound rules we're leaving. Create security group. Okay, it didn't take. But that's what I clicked, so ALB-SG, that's what you want. So let's do that. Now let's go ahead and click create. And there we go. Okay, so now let's create the Elastic Container Service cluster. Type in ECS. I'm opening this in a new tab. Okay, click on Get Started. Okay, let's create cluster. We'll give it a name. Name it ECS-demo. Okay, and for infrastructure, we're going to click Amazon EC2 instances. We also have a Fargate provisioning model on demand. Okay, so we want the M5 large. Okay, there we go. 2 vCPU, 8 GB memory. That's fine. Instance role. Let's create a new role. Okay, minimum 2. maximum 2. Okay, root EBS volume size, I'm going to put 100. Network settings. So let's use our workshop default VPC, or the VPC for this demo, not your default. Okay, so for subnets, you want private subnet 1 and private subnet 2. So for security group, ECS ASG security group, and then remove the default. Under monitoring, we want to click on Container Insights, which is through CloudWatch. Let's click Create. Okay, and this is going to take roughly 3 minutes, so just a heads up. Okay, I sped it up for you. Okay, so that's successfully created. Currently no task running. Now we want to create a task definition. So click Create New Task Definition under the drop down, New Task Definition. And this is going to be the web task. So we're going to name it Web Def or DEF. So this infrastructure, it's going to be EC2 and uncheck Fargate. So the web and the cats are going to be EC2, and then the dogs is going to be Fargate. But under network mode, choose bridge. Operating system is Linux. CPU, we want to do 0.5. So type in 0.5. In memory, we're going to do 1 gig. Okay, so let's scroll down. Leave task role blank. Create a new role, execution role. Under container 1, let's see. So you want to go to web, go back to ECR and copy your URI for web. And we're going to name that web, and then click in the image URI. Or paste that in, sorry. Okay, port registry, leave that. Okay, port name, web-80-TCP. Okay. So everything looks good. We'll leave that. Okay, so value type, the value, that's the / web definition. AWS logs region, AWS log stream prefix, create group, mode, I'm blocking max buffer size. Okay. And we're pretty much going to leave everything as is, but let's just go up. So you have a restart policy, health checks, that's optional. Command interval timeout, start period. Let's see, container timeouts, start timeout, networking settings, Docker configuration. Okay. Let's go ahead and click create. Okay, so we'll go back to task definitions. Let's close that out. So that's our web definition. Now we're going to create the cats. So create new task definition. Okay, let's give it a name, cats def. Okay, this is also going to be EC2, uncheck Fargate. Okay, operating system leave, network mode, we'll bridge it. CPU 0.5. And same 1 gig for memory. Task role will leave. We'll create a new execution role. Okay, under container 1 details, we'll name it cats. And let's go back and copy the image URI. So go to Elastic Container Registry, under repositories, click on cats, copy the image URI. Let's go back to ESC, paste that in. We'll leave port name, cats-80-TCP. Okay, we're leaving everything default. So we have log collection checked. And the key and the value. Okay, let's go ahead and click create. Okay, so now let's go back to task definitions and let's do dogs. Click create new task. Okay, dogs def, def. And dogs, we're going to use Fargate. CPU, select 0.5. Thank you. Memory, we're going to set 1 gig. And you can see network mode is AWS VPC because we're using Fargate. Create new role. Okay, under container details, I'm going to name it dogs. And then we're going to go back and copy that URI. Go back to repositories, click on dogs, copy that image URI, and let's paste it in. Okay, port name, dogs-80-TCP. Log collection checked. Amazon CloudWatch logs. You can see the log group is /dogs death. Scroll down. Okay, let's click create. So we have our 3 task definitions created. Now let's modify the ECS task in IAM role. So let's go to IAM. Click in roles. And ECS task execution role. Let's click in there. And we want to add a permission. So attach a policy. And in the search bar, just type in CloudWatch, and it's going to be the full access. So click on that, and we're going to add that permission. Let's go to permissions. So you see we have our 2 permission policies. And we want to create the application load balancer. So let's go to EC2, scroll down, let's go to load balancers. Let's click create load balancer. And the type, it's going to be ALB application load balancer. So click create. Let's give it a name. I'm naming it Demo Go -ALB. This is internet facing. So we'll check IPv4. And network mapping VPC is going to be our workshop VPC. Availability zones. So we'll select 2. So it's internet facing. So this is going to be both public subnet 1 and subnet 2. So it's highly available. Close out the default group, and we want to check ALBSG. And under default action, that's what we want, web HTTP. Let's scroll down. You can see there's the firewall, WAF, global accelerator. Okay, so this is a summary. Internet facing IPv4, network mapping, listeners and routing. That's our ALB security group. VPC, let's scroll down. Okay, let's create our load balancer. Okay, so that's created. Just EC2, okay. Go back to task definitions. And we're in Elastic Container Service. Give me 1 second. Okay, so we're going to create the web service. So we're under clusters. We're going to go in ECS demo. Right, so let's scroll down. We're in the services tab, and let's click create. Okay, Click on Launch Type for Compute Options. And we're going to select EC2. Deployment configuration, service, family, it's going to be web, def, service name, web, service type will be replica, and desired task, we want 2 minimum, keep it highly available. Availability zone rebalancing. Okay, so the deployment options, we're gonna use roll and update, and then you also have the blue-green option. Minimum running task 100, max is 200. So let's uncheck deployment failure detection. So it's turned off. Load balancing, sorry. So this is our ALB. Right, we're creating the web service. So load balancer is our demo go ALB that we created. Listener, we're going to use an existing listener, 80 HTTP, port 80. Okay, that's where the traffic is coming in from, distributed, or the ALB will distribute that traffic. Okay, so for target group, use an existing group and the / health check path. So the target group name is web. So task placement, we're going to leave that AZ balance spread. So it's spreading, it's distributing the traffic. Okay, so let's click create. Okay, so that's been deployed successfully. Now let's create the web services and task. Okay, so we have 2 tasks running. So under task, let's just take a look. Okay, so we have 2 running. Now we're going to create the cat service. So we're doing these in 3s. Okay, we're going to click on Launch Type for Compute Options, EC2. Remember, our dogs is Fargate. So deployment configuration is service, application type, cats, def, and that's our latest image, remember? Okay, so service name is cats, replica for service type, 2 for desired task, availability zone rebalancing is on. It's a rolling update for deployment type, min 100, max 200. And we're going to uncheck failure detection. Load balancer type is going to be our ALB. Load balancer, our demo ALB. Use existing listener, port 80 HTTP. Target group name, we'll name it cats. HTTP. Evaluation order, enter 1, and that's our path pattern. Cats with the wildcard / health check path. It's going to be cats / So let's click create. So now we have web and cats. So let's check the services and task. Okay, so under services, it's active. Task, you can see we have our 2 cats along with the web. And now let's create the dog service. Let's click create. Environment ECS demo. Launch type. It's Fargate. Service task. Service name is dogs. Family, dogs def. That's our latest image. Desired task is 2, highly available. Roll an update. Task percentage min 100, max 200. Let's uncheck failure detection. Networking. And that's our demo VPC. So it automatically populated, but just double check and verify that you have the workshop VPC. In subnet, we want private subnet 1 and 2. So make sure you select that. And security group, we're going to use ECS ASG security group using an existing security group. We want to turn off the public IP because it's in our private subnet, Fargate. Load balancing is our ALB. Use an existing load balancer. And the container is dogs. So that's going to be demo go ALB, the load balancer. Use existing listener. Port 80 HTTP. And that's our rule path. Okay, so our target group name, let's enter dogs. And that's our path pattern. So /dogs wildcard evaluation order, this is 2. Cats was 1, this is 2. So we want it for the health check path /dogs /. We'll leave everything default, just checking. And let's go ahead and create. Okay, we want to check the task and services as before. Give it a minute or 2. Okay, so that's deployed successfully. Let's check the service and task. Okay, so under services, dogs is active. Task, we have our 2 dogs task up and running. 6 total. Okay, and you can see dogs is using Fargate and cats and webs is EC2. Okay, so back to load balancer, we want to check the web service via the ALB endpoint. So in load balancer underneath DNS name, let's copy the endpoint, and I'm going to open up a new browser tab and let's paste that in. Let's give it time. And there you have it. We're accessing our web app. So I love cats, I love dogs. So let's click on cat. And it's kitten happiness. So we're up and running. It's highly available. Let's click on dogs. It's puppy love. And we're using the endpoint from our application load balancer. Or the web URL. But now let's go to monitoring and look at container insights. So type in CloudWatch. Click on CloudWatch. Okay, you can see no alarms have been triggered as of yet. But let's go to Insights. Click on Container Insights. Okay, and this is the dashboard GUI. Service is ECS. You can see the service state summary. So desired is 6, what's currently running is also 6. And that's the performance dashboard. Let's click on that. This is our cluster performance monitoring. ECS demo is the workshop. So total running is 6. You can see the different metrics that Container Insights provides, which is very neat. These are our resources. And you can see the max CPU and the max memory. No alarms currently triggered. Okay, you can see the alarm state, max CPU, max memory. Okay, those are currently 7 resources. We go into cats as an example. Okay, so there's our spike. CPU utilization, storage, number of tasks, you can see 2. Pending task, okay, 1. Let's go back to clusters. Okay, so there's our spike. instant summary. Okay, so there's nothing to display. So I'm just playing around. Okay. So average, there's our percentage. Spread was about 2. Okay, number of running tasks, you can see 2, and that's 3, so that's 6. Web, cats, and dogs, and it's color-coded, which is neat. Task families. Okay. CPU utilization. Okay. And you can also add custom or add to the dashboard custom features that you like. Okay, let's check the side panel. Let's go to logs and click on log groups. Okay, we want to container insights, our ECS demo option. Let's click on that. And let's see, under log streams, let's choose the first Fargate telemetry. And under timestamp, I'm just going to select the, let's see, the first option to look at details. So version type, task ID, definition family, on ID, USC 1, timestamp, namespace. So that's a granular, detailed view in log groups. But now let's view it in Insights. Okay, so you can access it here also, the logs insights. Now if we browse in the log groups, okay, you can see the fields, the timestamp, the start, the limit. Let's run a query. Okay, and we'll scroll down and you can see the logs, 429, the records matched, the time of the resource, so timestamp, so field, ingest time, okay, so those are the records of our logs. I'm just checking EC2 load balancers, Elastic Container Services. So let's configure the service auto scaling. So in Elastic Container Service, let's click on the ECS. Well, we're in clusters, but let's go to ECS demo. And let's highlight web, and we want to update it. Let's see if we can get some action. So, and here the desire should be set to 8. So going through the workshop, obviously this was a newer UI, but the deployment configuration, we're just going to walk through of what I did. But the desired task should be 8 for this to trigger the scaling in and scaling out. But min task, minimum 100, maximum 200 as far as percentage. Service auto scaling. Select that drop down and we're going to use it. And the minimum number task, we want 2. Maximum, we'll scale up to 8. Okay, so it's going to be within that window, always highly available, so always minimum of 2 tasks running, maximum of 8, and anything over 8. But let's add a scaling policy. So we're going to use target tracking. Policy name is going to be ALB. Request tracking. And service metric. Request count per target. Target value is 1000. The scale out or cool down period, we're going to enter 10, and scale in cool down period, we're going to enter 300. Scroll down, let's update. Okay, let's run a service load test. So back in our console, we're going to type in this command, okay, which should give it a spike. Okay, let's change mod, let's sudo hey, and let's type in this third command. And you want to copy and paste in your DNS name here. So let's go back to load balancer. Copy the demo go ALB. Paste that in. Let's run that. Okay, so you can see I have an error, no such file or directory. I included the brackets in that command, so let's run it again and remove the brackets. So let's go ahead and delete that and repaste. Copy, paste. Okay, now let's run it. Okay, so well, you see we're in one alarm, so the load test, it's creating some friction against our architecture. So let's go to all alarms under alarm, and we have one in alarm. The first one should be in alarm. Actually, I think this is from us not, or from me not selecting the desired at 8, but number of units 1000. So let's see. So request per count is greater than 1000. Let's give it 3 minutes. Let's go. Okay, so under web, Elastic Container Services, cluster, ECS demo. Okay, you can see we have 3 running services. Let's go into web. I'll check grace period. So desired task 2 is currently running. Remember, we wanted a minimum of 2. Let's go to events. So it has reached the steady state. Okay. So it's definitely highly available. So we always have 2 tasks running at all time. That's our minimum. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to go into deployments. Five events. Back to task. So those are our 2 tasks that's running. Configuration and networking. Desired. So that should be 8 actually. Let's see. Service and auto scaling. So our task count, so we have 2 through 8. Target tracking. ECS demo, so active is 3. Capacity providers. So let's do this. Let's go into infrastructure ECS cluster ECS, and we want to verify the managed scaling. So manage instance strain, and initially I was supposed to have that turned off. When we verify, we want to turn it on, but hey, okay, so that's already standard, but let's click update. Okay, I'm going back into clusters. CS demo. Okay, so let's update the web capacity provider. Click on update service. Desired capacity 2, turn on all availability zone rebalancing, compute options. Select capacity provider strategy. Under the strategy, we're going to just leave that default. Wait, let's go back. Okay, double check. Okay, so we highlighted force new deployment. Okay. Desired capacity, there we go. Let's select 8. Minimum 100, max 200%. Okay, so let's update that. So now our desired task is 8. So let's configure the auto scaling group. Let's click on infrastructure ECS cluster, actions, just click edit. Let's do max desired capacity 4. Launch template, we'll leave everything, version leave. Okay, so advanced configurations. So cooldown period, I'm going to select 10 seconds, enter 10. Go back. Okay, let's just update this. Okay, then let's do another cluster load test. I'm going to copy the previous command. Paste that in. Let's run this. Okay, distribution error. Okay, let's go back to cloud. Okay, so that one is in alarm, which is what we wanted, the capacity provider reservation greater than 100. So let's see. Okay, so there's our spikes. It's in alarm state. Okay, you can see it's above 100. You can see that spike. So that's actually correct. Just refreshing. So data points are within 1 minute. I'm just waiting 3 minutes for the alarm state to change. So we're waiting 3 minutes. Let's refresh it. There we go. So we're in the green. Perfect. You can see our spikes. That's our green. The status change. So the Elastic Container Service auto scaling group is working. So that's the scaling out and scaling in, obviously. Okay. So if we go back to ECS, okay, so we have 8 running, which was our desired capacity. So it's scaled up to 8, which is good. So that's 3 active, 3 registered container instances, which 3 or 4 is good. Refresh that. Total of 12 running. Okay, just click on infrastructure, see. So new container instances. You can see the running task 3, 4, and 3. Okay, so now we want to create a GitHub repository. We're in our terminal. So let's run that command. Okay, we want to authorize the login. Select HTTP. The GitHub credentials, answer yes. And we're going to log in through the web browser. Make sure you save this one-time code. You're going to need that. So yes, we want to open. Okay, and this is our GitHub login. Use your username or password. Enter your password. So this is the AWS, the authorization access to connect GitHub to our CodePipeline. So let's enter your 8-digit code. Just click continue. Okay, Yes, we want to authorize GitHub CLI. So let's authorize GitHub, and congratulations, we're all set. Okay, so back in the terminal, that's created. Okay, so no such follow directory. Okay, there we go. So make sure you enter your GitHub ID. Okay, github.com/your ID /path. Let's create it. Yep, so we want to push that. So, and that was dogs. Let's go back to GitHub and verify that we created the repository. Okay, so I'm just gonna enter GitHub in the browser. So let's just delete that and let's get access to GitHub. Okay, so we're in. Now let's check the repositories, and there's our dog repository that we created through the CLI. So let's go in there, and you can see we have our Docker file default and our config and index.html. So now we want to add the build spec to the GitHub repository. So let's build it out. Close out the Docker file. Let's go to File, open a folder. You want /home/EC2-user/ and dogs. Okay. So this is our dogs repository. Okay, so let's click I understand. Click on new file, and we're going to name it buildspec.yaml. Save that. Okay, so we're in our build spec file, and I'm going to paste in the build spec. All right, and we want to map it. So our region, I'm in US East 1, and enter your account ID. Paste that in. The name is dogs. Okay. So let's open up a new terminal, and we want to upload the source code to GitHub. So let's run that. Now we're going to create a code pipeline. So type in code pipeline. Let's click on create pipeline. Okay, we want to build a custom pipeline. Let's give it a name. dogs-CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous deployment. We want the queued pipeline type 2, the second option. We want to create a new service role. It automatically populates the role name. And let's click next. Source is going to be GitHub via the app. Okay, connection, we want to connect to GitHub. Okay, it's connection name. And I'm using demo git 2. So the first connection I had an error, so you can name it whatever you want to name it, or the original demo go. But I'm just running through the process again, and you can see persistent pays off. Okay, so we want to install a new app. Okay, so we're installing the AWS connector for GitHub. And for this demo, I'm selecting all repositories. Should have selected only select, but let's install and authorize, sorry. Okay, let that populate. And there we go. Let's connect. So we have our pipeline ID, so to speak. You can see it's connecting. It's processing. Okay. So repository name, select the dogs repository that we created. Okay. Main branch. Okay, CodePipeline is default. No filter. Let's click next. And under build stage, I want to select other build providers. AWS code build. We want to create a project. So we're continuing in CodePipeline to build out the project. We're going to give it a project name. Dog-build. Okay, leave everything else default. Environment, on demand. Manage image, compute is EC2. Operating system, Amazon Linux. Runtime is standard. Image version. A new service role. Role name is the one that was created for us. Build spec. Let's go to additional configurations just to see. Okay, we're going to leave this default. Okay, select privileged, enable this flag. Certificate, do not install any certificate. 3 gigabytes is fine. Okay, so let's go back and select the use a build spec file. All right, this is going to be our build spec.yaml. Okay, that was what we pasted into VS Code. Okay, sorry about that, guys. But let's go ahead and continue to CodePipeline. Okay, so this is our build spec. Okay, so that's successfully created. Okay, leave everything. Let's select next. So deploy provider is going to be Amazon ECS. And we're in region ECS demo under cluster name. Service name is going to be dogs. That's our GitHub repository. Okay. So review. Okay. Let's create. Okay, so you can see the pipeline is running. We should receive an error because of the IAM role, according to the workshop, but let's see. Okay, so the source is, that's successful. We should receive a build error. So you can see step 2 is processing on the right side in 3 parts or stages. So our build is in progress. Yep, so there we go. So we need to add the Elastic Container Registry permissions to code build. So let's go into IAM. And in roles, let's scroll down. Okay, this is our code build service role. So let's click in there and let's add permissions. We want to attach a policy. And in the search bar, let's type in Amazon EC2. There we go. So we want to give it full access. EC2 Container Registry full access. So let's add that permission. And that role is attached. Okay, now let's go back to CodePipeline. Okay, so we're going to give it a deploy test. Right, so in our index.html, we're going to make an edit. Let's see. But first, so in row 23, so we have puppy love, and then the update is going to be version 2. So let's save that. Okay. Let's add the build spec for GitHub. Run that command. Now let's go back to CodePipeline. So now it's in progress. It's running. Okay, so that succeeded. This was our update. So the build is in progress. That's successful as well. And the deploy stage is in progress. And that's successful. Awesome. Now we're going to verify the push update from CodePipeline to our GitHub repository. Right, so that's Kitten Happiness. Just give it a few minutes. Let's paste in our endpoint. Okay, so we made the update to dogs. So it should there we go, Puppy Love version 2. So it updated the edit and everything is working correctly. Pushed it from CodePipeline to GitHub through our build spec.yaml and the deploy stage. Everything's working as should. So let's go back to GitHub and on our repository, I'm refreshing. And there you go. You can see it was added, the build spec and the dogs version 2. Now let's just go into the .html. And you can see version 2 is also added. So from VS Code, that's awesome. Okay, so I'm in load balancers and I'm copy and pasting that and just see something out of curiosity. Let's see. Okay, perfect. All right. So now we're going to create the CodePilot application. Which CodePilot is a CLI for containers. So we want to create the application cat's dog. So we're doing what we previously did, but this is quicker through the CodePilot CLI. So this is the AWS container CLI, which what took us, a little over an hour, we can build it out in, let's say, 15 minutes using CodePilot. So that's building. The create is in progress. So you can see we're initializing the cats dogs app. CodePilot. Okay, so that create is complete. Now we want to configure the web service. Okay, we're just pasting that command. Okay, we want to select no. Okay, now the cat service. So we're doing it in threes like before. Okay, we're going to select no. And finally, the dog service. We'll select no. Okay. So that's the configuration file output, a sample of the tree. So CodePilot, cats, dogs, web. Now we want to configure the staging environment. And I take that back. It takes a little longer, the build out process. I just sped it up to save you time, and I appreciate you sticking through. But to build each stage, ranges approximately from anywhere from 5 to 8 minutes. So take that into consideration. You see it's processing the infrastructure changes. Okay. Okay, so that's done. Let's tree CodePilot. So you can see the manifest.yaml. 5 directories, 4 files. Let's deploy the staging environment. And this takes a little time to deploy, so but super quicker as opposed to doing the heavy lifting through the console. So you can see our subnets: private subnet 1 and 2, public subnet 1 and 2, the custom route table. Okay, so we want to create the ECS cluster. Okay, that's successfully deployed. Okay, we also can interact with the environment, which you see right there: Copilot application, cats, dogs, the environment, Copilot environment staging. Okay, we're deploying the app staging environment. So you can see this takes approximately 6 minutes. Again, I sped it up to save us time. IAMRO HTTP listener, CloudWatch log group, ECS task definition, IAMRO control permissions for the containers. Okay, so now, and Copilot provides the endpoint URL, which you can see. Right, so you see container environment value. Configuration, about, let's see. So the name is web. Let's just copy this, and I want to enter it into a browser, and let's access our web app. Okay, so this was the build through Copilot. Now let's deploy the cat services. So this takes approximately 4 minutes. Okay, now we're going to deploy dog services. Again, this was also approximately 4 minutes. So now let's access the fully built out application, copying that endpoint URL. Okay. Let me refresh. Okay. Kitten happiness. Kitten happiness. Let's go to dogs. Okay, so we're accessing dogs. That's awesome. It's working. That wraps up this web application using Amazon ECS, and thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed.